Let me introduce everybody here. Everybody, you're now listening to ZOOMERTIMES TV. I'm Anita Finley, your host, and we all come from the Boomer Times magazine, and we are trying to introduce very special guests to you every week. And we have John Ahlbum, who has been a guest previously many times. He's also a major advertiser with us in Boomer Times, and it's the Ahlbum Insurance Group. And so let me start off by welcoming you, John Ahlbum. Hello.
Yeah, hello. Hi, Anita.
Welcome, welcome. And what is the Ahlbum? Let's just do for people who just joined, have never heard of it, Ahlbum Insurance Group. So what is that?
It's a large insurance agency that we specialize in Medicare supplements. Instead of trying to be a jack of all trades, we decided a few years ago that we would just become the very best at Medicare supplements that we could be. And that we specialize in Florida and other states too.
Right. Well, it's a United American, and I can attest to what John just said because I have been a loyal member of that organization, and I've used United American for many, many things, and my husband's used it for many, many things.
Yeah.
So we know that it's real. There are a lot of people that get on TV and radio and other forms of communication. They spout off a lot of things, and hopefully if you have a problem, you have someone to talk to, because a lot of times there's just a phone number and you have no idea who's there. But John waits by his phone.
Well, if it isn't me, it's somebody. We have a slogan that says we're the agency where our clients send their friends. That's built on customer service, and I tell all agents that you've got to return the phone call that day.
Yes. Yeah, that's true, because everybody gets very nervous, when they get a form in the mail that's not understandable, and they want to talk to somebody.
Or the doctor tells them something, or they hear something, and they want an answer. And I don't blame them, they deserve an answer.
Amazing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, when we started off, I asked John that there are a lot of plans out there, and I wanted to know there are certain deadlines. Maybe you ought to go over some of the deadlines. If someone is over 65 and they want an insurance plan in addition to Medicare that Medicare gives them, what are their opportunities, John?
Okay, well, if somebody's working and they have a group plan and they're covered by their group, it makes sense just to stay on the group plan, take basic Medicare, which is Part A, but let the employer pay for the coverage. But when they're getting ready to retire, or if they're going to lose their employer coverage, then they have to enroll in Part B, which is the medical side of Medicare. And they've got to do that within 4 months of when they're going to lose their credible coverage. But if they do it while they still have the group coverage, there's no penalties for not enrolling at 65 and those kinds of things. Traditionally, Medicare starts at age 65. So somebody who has retired already or is turning 65 and maybe doesn't have other insurance should enroll in Parts A and B to start on their month of their 65th birthday. But as I say, if somebody's working or has other credible coverage, there's no need for them to do it yet. They can wait. Then there's enrollment periods throughout a couple of them throughout the year. There's an annual enrollment period called AEP, which runs from October 15th to December 7th. And that's when people can leave a Medicare Advantage plan and go to back to traditional Medicare and get a supplement. Unfortunately, they can also leave a supplement and go to an Advantage plan, but that ends on December 7th, and then January 1st through the end of March is another open enrollment period where they can do basically the same thing.
Why did they do that, John? I thought it was never like that. I thought it was just from just November and December. Why did they increase it?
I know they used to do from January 1st till Valentine's Day, and it was like a disenrollment period for people. It was really designed more for people who didn't get off an Advantage plan and realized that they'd made a mistake and they wanted to get off the Advantage plan. And it was to give them a second opportunity.
I see. Okay, so now the confusion starts. Now they have to make decisions, and they get phone calls, and they get brochures, and they get everything.
So much junk between the mail and the phone calls and the TV ads that were supposed to stop. At one point, the TV ads for the Advantage plans could only run during open enrollment, during the December open enrollment. But now they seem to run whenever they want to run, and they don't care. But they promise the world, but they can't give the world because they still want to make billions of dollars of profit. So the only thing that they can cut on when they give gym memberships and free this and free that is to take away from the medical care. So they pay the doctors less. So less doctors want to be involved in it, less good doctors. And they claim that they're not taking anything away from you, but they are, because they only get X amount of dollars per person from Uncle Sam per month or per year. And if they're going to do freebies, the money's got to come from somewhere, so they take it out of the regular medical care.
So the doctors give less time to each patient because they have to get more
patients. Doctors
patients.
get paid less. They change their contracting, and they negotiate with hospitals and try to pay them less, or they probably have fewer hospitals in their network than they used to have, because they'll go to the hospitals that'll accept what they want to pay with negotiated rates. But the sad part is that if you're diagnosed with something really, really serious and you want to go see a specialist somewhere, like maybe you want to go to the MD Anderson in Houston for cancer, or you want to go somewhere else for some other disease, with an Advantage plan, you can't go because they won't accept them. So you either got to pay out of pocket, or you need a supplement. But once you're diagnosed with something like that, you can't switch over to a supplement. So.
Oh, that's a very good point. Okay, so let's say you decided, well, I'm not going to do a supplement. And now you get some serious illness. And when you're in the hospital, you call John Ahlbum and say, okay, I'm ready.
Yeah, and it's, you feel horrible. Everyone, sometimes there's a loophole, or there's a way to get them in. But in most cases, if they're already diagnosed with something like that, they're stuck with what they have. And there's no way.
That reminds me, John, I used to advertise someone that had long-term health care insurance, and he had started early. I actually bought it from him very early in probably the 1990s. And he tried very hard to tell people that, listen, it's going to be very expensive if you have to go to a nursing home or for care. And it was hard to sell it. And I'll never forget, he told me that one woman called him from the hospital and said, I'm ready. And he said, sorry, it's too late.
The other thing that years and years ago, I sold some long-term care, and you talk to some people and you'd say, Oh, no, I'm never gonna go into a nursing home.
Right.
If I get that sick, I'll kill myself or something,
Right.
you know? So I started carrying Kevorkian gift certificates.
That's funny. Jeez.
Say, if you don't want to do it and you don't want to go, keep this in your bedside table in case you need to.
Right. Well, the other thing at the time, they were not paying for home health care the way they, unless you bought a big policy, it wasn't as easy. So my policy,
Right.
thank goodness, had everything. And
Right.
so it does make sense because, if your policy costs maybe I don't know what it costs, $3,000 a year or something,
Uh-huh.
you pay that for 1 month for care.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I want to move back though to what you do because it's kind of the same thing. There'll be people saying, why do I want to pay for a supplement when I can get everything else free? And you brought up the point though, that if they want to go
outline the
to
difference. Yeah.
same
Number
thing.
one, as you mentioned, with an Advantage plan, you don't have an agent. You don't have a designated person you can call.
Right.
You call an 800 number and you have no idea who you're talking to or where they are or if they even know anything. With us, we have an 800 number and a local number. We will find an answer. If we don't know the answer, we'll find it and get back to them with it right away. Where a lot of these plans don't have the answer, they don't look for it, and they never get back to them.
But John, that's pretty typical of a lot of big companies, no matter what. And really, it's so nice to have someone to talk to, especially I get very frustrated when I have to go to a website and I have no one to talk to, whether it's on anything else.
Yeah.
But I know you have the phone number. I know my insurance company has a phone number. I know my long-term healthcare company has a phone number. I'm still a phone number person.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, you talked about just recently getting the vaccine, and you had to go do some things. It wasn't just online, was it?
No, I went to my internist for my regular checkup, and he gave me a letter that he prepared, and with a check mark on the different, like the heart problem, a heart valve, and those kinds of things in my history, and said, please consider him, for the COVID vaccine. Then I checked and found out that at Holy Cross, they had this area that was just set aside for COVID. There was one spot you could go to pick up the application forms. And then they have a drop box, so you don't have to stand in line again to hand it in. And then they called me. They didn't email me. They didn't tell me to go look on the website. They called me from Holy Cross and made the appointment for me to come in this morning to get the shot.
See, that's it. That's really the way it should be working. But
yeah,
a lot of shoulds. But getting back to your organization, I know that you have trained those people. You've been doing this for a long time. And I'm sure that when you have a new agent in, there's a whole tutorial that you go through.
Yes.
This is how we do it. This is what we expect, right?
Exactly. Yeah, we show them, we speak to them, we watch over them, we listen in on them, everything, just to make sure that they know the way we do things.
Yeah.
They learn it because a lot of them come from somewhere else where they didn't do things like that. And they didn't get referrals. They didn't get, customer thank yous and things because they weren't trained to do anything in the old place to warrant it. And now they get a call saying, Mary Jones said I should call you because you're the one that helped her, you know?
Right.
They love
So I have a question about something, because I'm sure you know, because you've been doing this in this field of insurance for so many years. What happened before there was supplemental insurance and HMOs? How did people, Medicare paid for the hospital, and then what happened?
Okay. Well, there's been supplemental insurance since Medicare started. As soon as the law was signed, some companies voluntarily did supplements. United American was one of them. That was a pioneer. They weren't standardized, so a company could, have certain benefits that another company didn't have. And at one point, sometimes they would try to sell one or two supplements, different supplements to people, different companies.
Oh,
And then Medicare passed the rule that you can only have one supplement, you can't have two. It's against the try to sell a second one. And then in 1990, I think it was 1997, it might have been 1992, they had the Standardization Act where a Plan A was a Plan A, a Plan B was a Plan B. Any company that offered a plan, they all had to be the same. The premiums could be different and things like that, but each category, they had to be the same plan. Where prior to that, companies had their own plans, their own benefits, and did things.
the Wild West, huh?
Yeah. I mean, now you have 100 days of skilled nursing after a hospital stay is a standardized Medicare thing. United American had a plan. I don't know, it was in 4 or 5 states in the Midwest that gave almost unlimited, skilled nursing care. So things that they used to do, they can't do anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact that they are standardized, I think it makes it easier for people. When they know they have a Plan F or they have a Plan G or they have this or that, and they know what they have for benefits.
So let me just tell everybody, you're listening to John Ahlbum. He's my guest this morning, and it's AHLBUM. The phone number to call is 954-970-4760. And they have their offices in Margate, but if you don't want to go to the office, you can do this over the telephone. They'll come to you. It's really a service-oriented organization, and that's hard to find nowadays, but it's really important. Talking over the phone is okay, but it's also, and the ad he runs says, who would you rather talk to about Medicare Supplement, a robot or a person? Yeah, and that's a good thing. So, John, you probably have some people who are old. Do you know who the oldest person you have is?
I know I've got a couple clients that are up in the hundreds. But the average client I have is probably in there. The oldest, the average older is mid 80s to mid 90s. But there are some, as I say, who are over 100.
Mm-hmm.
And we have clients that stay with us as loyalty. I spoke to a lady the other day who'd been with me for 26 years.
Well, I think Bill was there for a long time, but I've been with you I don't know how long, pretty long.
20.
Yeah, I know it. That's true.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the name of the insurance company. John Ahlbum, it's his company. He's the company, but he's not the insurance company. It's the United American Insurance Company. You can look it up. It's unitedamerican.com. You'd be amazed at that company, what they've done, how long they've been around. It's almost like, it's a major company. And you feel very good. I know that the rate, you told me that the rate was increased, but it's a very minimal amount of money. And you explain why. Yeah. Yeah, it hasn't been, over the years, it has not been raised very much. But I guess.
Over the last 10 years, when they average out increases and decreases, because we had a decrease a few years ago too.
Huh.
It's 0.8% per year that it's gone up, which is below inflation and below everything else. So it's a good, solid company. They've been around since Medicare started. Well, actually, they've been around. United American started in a garage in Dallas right after World War.
I love it.
Not Medicare supplemental, but supplemental policies. And then Medicare started, and it just fit United American perfectly, because all they'd ever sold would be supplements, a health supplement or a cancer supplement or this supplement or that supplement. They were never like a major medical or something like that. So the Medicare supplement was right down their alley, and it's become their primary product.
Did the person who started, is it he or she still living?
No, I don't believe so.
Mm-hmm. But it started as a family, as most things do.
Yeah.
Yeah, not nowadays. It's not always started by families, but you started it as a family too.
Mm-hmm. I started, then my son graduated from college and came to work, and Tim has done very, very well. And then a few years ago, Donna she'd worked as a administrative assistant at different schools and stuff, and got tired of that and got her license and started doing insurance and fell in love with it too.
Mm-hmm.
So there's the three of us. And my daughter-in-law, who's married to my older son, is with us in the business. She sells insurance. My son Casey worked at it for a while before he went to Office Depot.
Okay.
It's been a family business.
And you don't really know John Ahlbum's history. If you did, I actually almost equated to Biden a little bit, and the tragedy of his life and what happened to you also, rearing your children yourself as he did.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that took a lot for a man to do what you did.
Thank you.
That's right. It's one never knows, does one, what's in store for them.
That's right.
You have to rise to the occasion.
Yes.
I think that's what makes you so good, that you understand what it's like to have tragedy and to know how to pick yourself up and use what you can. And you've done so well, and it's not luck. I think it's, well, you always have some luck, but I think it's because you depended on your brain and what your heart said.
Right. And I was lucky that I had a good family behind me, and the willpower to do it, I guess, would be where luck.
Yeah. And lucky you found Donna.
Yeah.
Right. I think that's how Biden feels about Jill. I mean, luck is interesting, but you have to put your foot forward and do a lot first.
Yes.
Yeah. So life goes on, and I hope you don't retire, but when you eventually do, you've got your family there, your kids and all, which is
Exactly.
wonderful.
Exactly. But I don't want to retire because I love what I do.
Right, right. I know.
You know,
You shouldn't retire. You shouldn't.
even if I do less outside the office, I'm still helping people while I'm here. And that to me is what makes the business and makes everything go round.
Right, right. Well, I guess we're running out of time, aren't we, Dan?
I see Dan.
Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am.
So how'd we do today?
Terrific.
I always loved having him come on because he's the cheerleader of all cheerleaders. Well, we thank you, John, always. You know, you're just such a nice, you're such a nice man, a good businessman, a friend. We appreciate you so much, and we want to thank you again. And I'm glad you got your shot, and you'll be getting your next one soon.
3 weeks from today.
Okay.
Yay.
Okay. So we'll talk to you after you get your next shot.
Okay.
Okay. So stay masked though until you get it too. And
Yes.
even after that, you know, so
Yeah.
thank you, John, very much.
All righty. Thank you.
Okay. All
Thanks,
right.
John.
Bye.
Bye, Dan.
Bye-bye.